All right. Hello, and welcome everyone. My name is Francisco Cantu, and I'm here with Laura. And like we do every week, we are live. We should be live on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Ready to have another conversation about the world of college admissions, about strategies, about ways in which you can boost your odds of acceptance. The scholarship aspect of it all. Every week, if this is your first time joining us, let us know. You can put a 1 in the chat if this is your first time joining us, or a 2 in the chat if you have watched us before and you are returning. And that's again just so that we can get some engaging in this video. It can start getting recommended to more and more people. But just so that you know, we do these live streams every week. It's a way for us to go ahead and connect, have conversations that are productive and helpful. All right. So, and I starting to see in the comments, Andrew is saying hello. We got Scouting for Live 123 saying hi. Hi. I see Andrew putting it down a 1. So welcome for the first time. And yeah, just so that you know, today's topic will be about scholarships. Today we're going to be talking about the monetary aspect of college, about the financing vehicles that you can get access to, and how to make sure that you unlock the most amount of money that you're eligible for. So hopefully it's a constructive conversation that you all learn a thing or two. We're going to be sharing free resources at the end that you can access and that can help you out. But again, as we do every week, we give it a few minutes at the beginning for people to join. I see Care Bear. Sorry, I don't have my glasses, so the comment I'm struggling with. But I see Care Bear saying a 1, so joining us for the first time as well. Thank you, Laura. Do you want to introduce yourself? Say hi to the people.
Yes, of course. Well, as you know, my name is Laura Cantu, and we're back for yet another live show today on this wonderful Monday. I hope you're having an amazing Monday, an amazing start to your week. Today, like Francisco said, we're sharing the top secrets to go to college with scholarships. But before, I do want to do like a little announcement, and it's regarding to the FAFSA. We are on the month of March. It's March 11th. And, as many of you know, especially if you are a parent or a student who is a senior in high school who had to deal with this year's FAFSA form, now is the time for those seniors who applied for, or students who had to fill out the FAFSA again. It is around this time that the FAFSA will be sending out the form to colleges because of the whole debacle that happened with the form being released later and it being new, it being a different platform, et cetera, et cetera. Colleges are just going to start receiving now those applications in the mid-March. So not right now, but in the coming weeks. So definitely something important to keep in mind. A lot of students have been receiving their acceptance letters with maybe a scholarship or two, but they might have not gotten their financial federal aid or their, institutional aid and scholarships that is need-based. So it's important to keep that in mind, to continue checking the status of your FAFSA, and just to be on top of it. All right, it's really important, and just something that I wanted to let you all know. I know that we would discuss this, but it is March, and there should be some developments in that specific subject, because it is something that unfortunately keeps changing, and it's very different this year because of all the not mistakes, but yeah, the bugs that the new FAFSA form did have. So I just wanted to give that announcement before we started with today's presentation.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if you want to add something on that topic.
No, I don't know. I just want to go ahead and transition into mentioning, since today we're going to be talking about, money. We're going to be talking about the different sources of income, or the different sources of financing for college that one can get, the different financing vehicles that one has access to, and the different sources for it. I do want to start with a little bit of context, because I saw earlier on in the chat that a lot of people said that they were joining for the first time. Laura and I, and our brother David, we started Best College Aid around 5 years ago. But before that, we went to school. David and Laura went to school in New York. I went to school at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And when we were in high school, part of our road to college was very much complemented, supported, aided by a private college counselor that was very prolific. He was very, very helpful. And we learned the great amount of information from him, because he was a sort of guide for us on this process. So it was very, very beneficial. My parents ended up paying close to $10,000 for the four of us because we have an older sibling, Vidal. So the four of us, my parents ended up paying $10,000. So certainly it was a big financial commitment that we're very, very blessed to know that we got access to. And then when we went to college, Laura received over $200,000 in financial aid and scholarships. So did I. My brother David also received around $200,000 as well. So between all of us, we got over $500,000 between the different sources that give you money, federal, state, institutional, and private scholarships, which we'll be going into in depth later. So we understood the value. It was a good positive investment in terms of return on investment from the $10,000 that my parents paid for. But we understand that that's not an accessible amount. So, here we are close to 10 years later trying to do these live streams, these conversations. If you go to our social media channels, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, we go ahead and we try to share as much information as we possibly can to hopefully steer people in the right direction and they can learn a thing or two from this live stream. So I wanted to go ahead and start with that before we get into the meat and potatoes, the technical aspects of today's presentation, because there is importance in understanding the value of a guide, the value of, laying out all the information, the unknowns, and then learning about those unknowns. Because if you don't know, that there are 4 sources of money that one can get from college and that there are different forms that one has to fill out, then you are not going to complete them. So I wanted to establish or start off by saying that there's a lot of value in following someone's footsteps who already went through it, so that you don't have unknown unknowns, but you rather have known unknowns, and you can learn about them through, again, presentations like these, or a private college counselor, or we're going to talk later on about Best College Aid and our advising services that we provide. Or if you just want to stick with watching these free content that we bring out on our social media, well, you can learn about it through those different vehicles. So I wanted to start with that before Laura takes it away with the first point of today's presentation.
Yes. So it's really important to, before we get started, sharing the secrets. And you kind of already covered this, Francisco, learning the importance of following a guide or following someone's footsteps. As you said, we were able to go to college in the United States. All of us, when I say we, my 3 brothers and myself, there's 4 of us, to go to great universities, paying as little as possible. We actually all got full tuition scholarships, and we got to go to the schools that we wanted to go to. But honestly, we wouldn't have been able to do this if we didn't have a guide, if we didn't have somebody's advice to follow. And, that is basically what we decided to do once we went through the process and we saw how successful we were and how there are so many opportunities, so many resources available for students to take advantage of. And unfortunately, there's a lack of information out there. Once we went through that process and we discovered that, we decided that we wanted to kind of be that for others and help others, help families, help students. So that's kind of what we've been doing over the past 5+ years, is to help guide students and help guide parents through this process. So one of the biggest secrets or the biggest steps is to follow a guide. It's really important, and that is what we do inside of Best College Aid, to know all the steps of the puzzle and having a bigger picture of all the resources available and knowing what it is, exactly what it is that your student has to do, and you as a parent, to maximize their odds of acceptance and getting into a great college with scholarships. And a lot of that planning, a lot of that process starts as early as middle school, maybe 9th grade, and little things that this guide would include would be knowing which classes to take, knowing which classes are offered at your student's high school, taking some college level courses, maybe some advanced classes. It all depends on the students, honors classes. If the high school has the IB program, maybe looking into starting that and having the opportunity to have college credits. Also creating a list of colleges is very, very important. Start applying to private scholarships as early as possible as well, and be active and continue to look for these types of opportunities is also important. So following a guide is very important. And within that guide, one of the very, very important things that students have to know, and parents as well, because there's a lot of misconceptions about the type of scholarships and the type of financial aid that's available for parents and students in the United States, is knowing the different types of financial aid and the sources that it comes from. A lot of people think that the only type of aid that students can receive is the FAFSA, the one that you get through the FAFSA. And if you don't make enough money, or if you make too much money, your student will not qualify for any financial aid and they'll go into debt. That is something that we hear every single day. So it's important that students, parents are familiar with the different types of aid. There's four main types of financial aid, and we will discuss them right now. But it's important to know where they come from, how they work, how to qualify for them, who qualifies for them, so that students can start kind of having a plan and having an idea of where they could have funds for college. All right. So I'm going to share the first two types, then Francisco can share the other two. And let's get started with the first one. The first one, and it's the one that everybody knows, and we kind of already talked about it. This is federal aid. This is money awarded by the federal government, and in order to be able to receive federal aid, students have to fill out the FAFSA. Not everybody qualifies for federal aid. There are some requirements, some citizenship and legal status requirements. Students have to be either citizens of the United States, residents of the United States, or eligible non-U.S. citizens. And this is what I was saying, that a lot of people believe that this is the only type of aid. Maybe students who are international students, or students who, maybe are part of DACA, who are not citizens of the United States. They think that if they don't qualify for the FAFSA, that's it, that they can't go to college, or they have to take out loans. There's other types of aid. And as a matter of fact, Francisco, do you want to talk about institutional aid, which is the second type of financial aid, and how important it is? And a lot of our students and all of our clients and ourselves, well, personally in my financial aid package, institutional aid was the biggest chunk of money I received and what helped me cover most of my expenses and my tuition. So yeah, very important. Fran, take it away with institutional aid.
Right. So as Laura mentioned, the first one is federal aid. The second type of aid, and arguably one of the most important, if not the most important type of source for money for college, comes from the institutions themselves for which the student will be accepted to. So when it comes to institutional aid, the national average for the previous year, the previous admitted student year, was around 50% of all the money that students received to pay for college came straight from the universities themselves. If you were to think of, the different sources being equal, then obviously 100% will be divided by 4, 25, 25, 25, 25. But as you can see, if 50% of all the money that students receive for college came from institutional aid, it talks about how proportionally this is the type of aid that will give you the most amount or the most awards for your education, right? But the thing is, not all schools are equally as generous. Not all schools will satisfy the same percentage of demonstrated need. What we recommend and teach our students inside Best College Aid is not to settle for anything less than 70% of demonstrated financial need being satisfied by these schools, because one of the worst things, or one of the biggest, most recurring mistakes that we see when people go through this process, when students go through this process, is the fact that people will select schools based on where their friends are going to college, where their parents went. Maybe they'll loosely base it on their academics, but not necessarily also factor in the levels of generosity. And different universities have different generosities because of something called their endowments. And this is funds that the universities receive from investments, from alumni donations, from the sports programs, and that money gets used for different things. It can be used to pay for investments, it could be used to pay for infrastructure, but mostly it is used for scholarships. So super, super important to go ahead and consider that, or take that into consideration, use it as a factor to make your final list of colleges. Or students at Best College Aid, teach them, okay, apart from the university satisfying your academic criteria, because the whole point of going to college is to eventually, receive the education and get a job in the field that you want to, pursue for the rest of your life. So that should be, number one, and tied with number one or number two should be, okay, but let's go ahead and do so responsibly and not just, get into debt for the sake of getting into debt, or apply to a school that's not going to be generous, and then, jeopardize the next 30, 40 years of our lives paying something that we can't afford. So let's go ahead and do so responsibly, right? There's a lot of it's important to go ahead and be prudent, be intelligent. And I know that in a lot of cases, if the students go through this process by themselves, there might be 17, 18 by the time that there could be 16 when they're making the preliminary list of colleges. So they don't understand the implications of taking out, these loans with these predatory interest rates, and they don't know if they're subsidized or unsubsidized. So going ahead and taking a step back, or if you're a parent yourself, getting involved in this search process and responsibly looking at this generosity criteria is super, super important, because you might have your own philosophies as a household of whether the student's going to pay for it or the parents are going to help pay for their education. That's for your family to decide, and that's for your, that's completely up to you. But what is not debatable is the fact that a lot of these decisions, if not most decisions based on need-based awards, specifically from the institutions, will be derived from the parents' finances. So there's a lot of value in going through this process as a team. So selecting generous institutions, number one priority when you're making that list of colleges, right? So that's institutional aid.
Exactly. Super important. It's very important to keep this in mind. And like you said, when creating that list of colleges, researching and being familiar with the school's history on awarding financial aid, their endowment, how much money they have to offer, how much money they tend to offer students, all very important things to consider. All right. So that was federal aid, institutional aid. Then we have state aid, which, as the name suggests, is financial aid and scholarships awarded by the state that the student might live in, or the state that the student will go to college in. It all depends. Every state's different. Their clauses are different. Their rules for awarding state aid is different. It tends to vary from state to state. So, very important to be familiar and to research what the financial aid policies or the state aid programs available in your state. Florida, we have Florida Bright Futures, but that's something that's not available in another state, or they might have a similar program but with a different name. So it's important to be familiar with that as well. Finally, we have private aid and scholarships. These are financial aid and scholarships that come from private sources, such as, individuals, organizations, churches, companies. These are all awarded by private sources and funded by these private sources. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Coca-Cola Foundation, maybe your local ice cream shop might hold a scholarship program, a scholarship competition. I had a friend, and I've said this before, she wore glasses and she went to her optometrist her whole entire life. It was the same one. And he held a competition, a scholarship competition essay writing program where she wrote an essay about wearing glasses, and it was $1,000, and she won, and she was able to use that towards her college education. So that is just one example. There are so many different types of private scholarships available in the United States, private scholarship programs, and every scholarship is different. Every scholarship has different requirements. There's scholarships available for international students that are not citizens of the United States can qualify for. There's some that are available only for students who are citizens or residents. So it really does depend on the scholarship program. All right, very important to keep in mind. And finally, Francisco, we are going to talk a little bit about what colleges look for in a student. Just a quick little recap of what a lot of people want to know. Okay, what is a college looking for? A lot of people think, colleges just want students who are smart and who get good grades. So if you could give us just a quick explanation of what it is that colleges want and look for in students now in 2024.
Yes, absolutely. So as mentioned at the beginning, there are two processes that happen at the same time. There's clearly the financing process, being able to pay for college once you get accepted. But before we even get there, as we have discussed, you have to be accepted in the first place. So one of the first things that colleges look for, or that colleges are interested in, if we go by parts, yes, there are 4,600 institutions that you could apply to, and some might have some preferences over another. Some schools might focus more on the SAT, others might focus more on GPA. But in general, I want to start off by talking a little bit about extracurriculars. And first of all, something that we've talked about in some of our free trainings and our presentations, which, by the way, we have one in the link in our bio that we can talk about more after this presentation ends. But one of the main talking points in that presentation that we share is the fact that with extracurriculars, a lot of people think, oh, I need to be the jack of all trades. I need to, play the guitar. I need to be an athlete. I need to be in the math team, the debate team, and insert 9 other activities. When in reality, colleges, more than building a class made up of only well-rounded students who know everything, they do want students who have, a base level threshold, yes, of course, of intelligence and activities. But for the most part, they are interested in building a well-rounded class, meaning that they want students who really excel at a particular craft or a particular area or passion. And it doesn't always have to be, your traditional sports. It doesn't always have to be your traditional, debate club. It could be things that the student is passionate about. There are niche topics. If your student is a streamer, and they have a following, or they have a YouTube channel, or if they have their own website, or if they review movies on TikTok and have a cult following, something like that. All those things are alternate ways in which a student can stand out. But for the most part, having some sort of passion that the student can then translate into their goal at a particular university is a great way to make a cohesive application if they talk about it, and how that would translate into succeeding at that particular institution, right? So that is one of the first things that colleges cares about, or that looks for in their applicants. And then, continuing on that trend of extracurriculars, which again, I'm just going to fly through some of these, but if you want a more comprehensive list, then I certainly invite you all to go ahead and check out the free presentation that, if you're watching on TikTok and Instagram, is located in the link in our bio. If you click wherever the button is up here or whatever for our profile, after this presentation ends, you can go ahead and click on that link in our bio, and you'll be able to register to that training, where, again, it's very academics focused. But again, you can watch that after this live stream ends. And if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, it's in the video's description, right? But the next other component of extracurriculars in terms of, how it's valued by colleges, there are 2 main areas that colleges care about with their applicants, that they want their students or their applicants to display when they're in college. Number 1 is leadership. That they hold a position, a title, something, a traditional display or role that demonstrates that they were, influential within the organization, whether that is a title of vice president, secretary, treasurer, president, whatever the case might be. Or that they have the concept of duration, that they participate in that activity for a long time. Does the student have a track record of demonstrating that once they start an activity, when they're 12 years old or 13, 15, when they're starting freshman year, can they stick to it throughout, their 4 years of high school? Those are 2 easy ways to elevate the competitiveness of your college application in terms of their extracurriculars. And then if you can supplement that with impact and talk about numbers, percentages, commas, whenever you're elaborating on the student's experience within these extracurriculars, well, again, those are excellent ways to take your application, or at least the aspect of extracurriculars within the application, to the best, or to the next level, right? So just to sum it all up, if the student can make their college application be cohesive, if they can demonstrate that they had impact, if they can demonstrate that they are socially engaged, and that when they're talking about their application or their extracurriculars within their application, if they can find a way to relate it to how this can continue, prosper, be honed when they are in college, then they're executing things perfectly. And again, if you want to learn more about what colleges look for specifically in the application or within the application process, that is what that free training in the link in our bio is for. We try to keep these, live streams more engaging, more conversational, but, for more technical stuff for the application, I very, very much encourage you all to check out that free training, it's in the link of our bio. If you're watching on TikTok and Instagram, or if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, you can find that on the video's description. All right. But as of right now that we've covered that, we are going to move on. Laura is going to lead the way with our weekly trivia that we do at the end of these live streams. We are going to be asking some questions and trying to engage with you all. So if you want to go ahead and get ready to answer, you can go ahead and tune in, get your fingers warmed up for answering some trivia questions.
Alrighty, so let's get started with the trivia questions of the day. This is going to be 3 questions. You can write in your answers in the chat, and let's see how your knowledge of some college-related topics are. All right, this is a fill in the blank. So let's see. You can guess. Maybe you know the answer. Let's check it out. Which United States president was a transfer student? Which U.S. president was a transfer student? And for those of you who don't know, transfer students is students who once went to a college but decided to transfer maybe after the first year, second year to a different institution. So who do you think out of all the United States presidents that we've had was a transfer student?
And just to give you a hint, he was a president who was president in this current century. Okay, so it's not an obscure, 1960s, president or something like that, right?
All right, if you see me on my phone, I'm checking your comments. All right, I see that Care Bear says Barack Obama. Prince Amofo says Donald Trump. Let's see TikTok, which answers are we getting in that platform to see who people think was a U.S. president that was a transfer student. All right, somebody says Barack Obama. All right, do we want to give out the answer, Francisco?
Yes, so it is correct. It was Barack Obama. Yes.
Woo! So that was a U.S. president who was a transfer student. Good job, Care Bear, and the people who guessed that or knew that. I didn't know this when I made the question, so it was something that I learned. Alrighty, so next question is a multiple choice question. Are you ready? In which year was the Common Application first launched? In which year was the Common Application first launched? A, 2000, B, 1998, C, 2011. A, 2000, B, 1998, C, 2011.
And for those of you that don't know, the Common Application, as we've talked about in previous live streams, is very much an application portal that is consolidated where a multitude of universities have posted, their whole application, and the student can conveniently, again, send over the Common Application essay, which is a general essay that can be sent to multiple schools if required. And then the universities can post their specific portions of the application that are specific to that particular institution. And then, within one portal, the student can apply to all these multiple schools, right? So we've talked about it extensively in the past, and you can learn more about it by watching that free presentation in the link in our bio. All right.
Correct.
So that was just a filler while more people answered. I see Prince saying 1975.
That was not really an option. So it's A, 2000, B, 1998, and C, 2011. We have somebody saying 1998. And TikTok, somebody's guessing 2011, and we have a person guessing 2000. All right, Fran, do we want to give out the answer? Which year was the Common Application first launched?
That was in the year 2000, which I imagined it was earlier, not gonna lie. I learned that today when we were preparing for this presentation. But yes, it started in the year 2000, and thank God it did, because it very much streamlined the application process. One of those things that we take for granted now, but look at movies and things like I remember watching movies, or God, what was it? This episode in Malcolm in the Middle think it was when they were writing their college application essays and with pen and paper and mailing everything.
Mailing everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I can't imagine doing that. So yeah, one of those great things that we take for granted, the common application.
Exactly, just technology and making it easier. Even sometimes when there is flaws, it's much easier to see this, check the status of an application, check the status if something was sent and received online. Yeah, people had to like mail it and hope that it didn't get lost in the mail, or that it got there on time, and pay all those fees to send all those those mail letters and packages. So yeah, something like you said, we should take advantage of and be grateful for. Alrighty, last question. This is a true or false statement, and it's the last question. It's about the SAT and the ACT exams, standardized tests. All right, so true or false? Students have to take and send the results for both exams, the SAT and the ACT, to when applying to college. When applying to college, students have to send out both the SAT and the ACT to colleges. Is this true or is it false? Do students have to take and send both exams, SAT and ACT, if they apply to a college, when applying to college? Is it true or false?
Yeah. And while people answer, I'm going to do another shameless plug for the Best College Aid. People who are interested, first of all, always, get the free resources, if they're available. So again, free resources that you have from Best College Aid. If you're interested in learning more, number one, you can find the recording of this live stream within our Instagram, our YouTube, and our Facebook pages. It'll be posted after we get off the air. And then if you want more dense presentation, more packed with more information, then you can check out the training that is in the link in our bio. Recorded a couple of weeks ago, so it's all pertinent to the previous admission cycle, or with the information from the previous admission cycle. You can go ahead and watch that. And for those of you who are interested in more of a personalized sort of advising, as I mentioned at the beginning of this training, my parents paid $10,000 for private college counseling. It was great quality advising, but very much financial, compromise investment. So we understand that that's not what a lot of people can afford, and it's a big financial burden. So we created a program that takes the same and more updated quality information than the one we received and consolidated it into our Best College Aid program. So if you watch that free training, the last 20 minutes, I go ahead and talk about what our program includes, how much it costs. We offer 50% off for those of you who watch the training first. So again, go ahead and watch that free training. Even if you're not interested in Best College Aid, you get an hour and 10 minutes of hopefully valuable information for you. And then if you are interested in joining the full pay program, you can go ahead and stay till the end and get that 50% off and make that decision, right? So another shameless plug, and I got reminded of it because part of what we include within our service is study materials for the SAT and ACT exams, right? So go ahead and check that out. And to answer the question as to whether or not you have to send both the SAT and ACT as part of your college application, the answer is absolutely false. Some institutions are test optional, some are test blind. So you can send your exam
Just
if it's
choose one, yeah.
you can pick your exam, and what we teach our students at Best College Aid, go ahead and take a free practice exam for both of them, see where you rank compared to the national average in each of them. And then after you go ahead and have that under your belt and see where you're staying on each of them, the one you perform the best, go ahead and make that your baby, prioritize it for the next couple of years, and, use that as your basis for college application. See the average at the universities that you're accepted to or that you're interested in being accepted to, and then go from there.
Exactly. So just to clarify, it's false. You don't have to take both exams and send them both. You can choose one, choose the one that you're better at, choose the one that you feel more comfortable with. And colleges should not ask you for both exams. They usually ask for the results of one test if they are mandatory, if they do require that every student submits those results, and if they are test optional, which means, like Francisco said, you choose to send out these results, you usually only have to send out the results from one of the two standardized tests. All right, so very important. Hopefully you got that right. A lot of people did. And that's it, Fran. That's everything that we had prepared for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this live stream, this live show. And if you are interested, like Francisco explained, we have free resources, a free presentation full of information in the link in our bio. And if you are interested in joining our step-by-step guide, our membership, at the end of that free training, we explain everything that our membership includes and how it can benefit you and your family. Additionally, we also offer a 50% off discount for watching that free training. So hopefully it's something that you enjoy. It is definitely going to be something that is going to help you in this process and make a huge difference. All right. So we'll see you inside the training. If you decide to join Best College Aid, we'll see you inside the course. And that's everything that I have for you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. Fran, anything else you want to add?
Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great week, y'all.
Bye.